the New Orleans Saints from 1993 through 1996. He earned All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors in 1993. Returned 2 punts for touchdowns, 3 kickoffs for scores, 4 interceptions on defense. Holds the NFL record for the most combined kickoff and punt return yards in a single game, 347, set against the then Los Angeles Rams in 1994. He will be inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame on October 30th at a luncheon in Kenner. The information is on your table. The Saints travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles this Sunday. Please give a warm, Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club welcome to Tyrone Hughes. Tyrone.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and these distinguished gentlemen up here. And just a quick stat, I was showing it to David a minute ago. Somebody, we had talked about it before. My daughter's going to Louisiana Tech, and as we're driving up there, she was like, "Dad, looks like anybody can play in the NFL." And I turned around and looked at her, and she said, "Well, I'm sorry," you know. But to give you a quick stat, there's and I told her on the very low end it was 5,000 seniors, but looking at the stats we just read, there's 15,000 seniors that try to come out every year. There's only 256 that gets drafted. So definitely you need a college education. You need a college education. Have something to fall back on, because it's not guaranteed. And even if you, and that's the people that's 256 that gets drafted every year, that ain't 256 that might make it. So it goes down even less. So it definitely depends on that college degree. As it pertains to the Saints, we had a big win against Dallas. They struggled so far, you know, and I know everybody's been happy with that win. Even though it was an overtime win, it was still a win. But looking at the Saints offensively, they've done a good job. They're young. You know, you got about a 45% turnover as far as the team is concerned. 20-something of them are rookies. The guys are getting thrown into the fire, and I don't know if the Saints have said it. I don't want to say it, but they're rebuilding. And I know as fans you don't want to hear that, but they're rebuilding, and it's obvious. So I say give them, you know, just like when Drew came in 2006 with Reggie and Marcus and all of those guys. You know, it took them about 4 or 5 years to get that Super Bowl. Give them about another 3 or 4 years, they'll be back on top. I don't know if Drew has that long. McCown, I think, did an excellent job stepping in for him. I would like to see the new kid, the rookie, come in and start playing some. You know, if they lose a couple more games to where, hey, you know, we don't have a chance to get into the playoffs, but at least start getting him prepared to move into Drew's position. You know, and again, I think Drew did an excellent job looking at this week, because I said he shouldn't have played, let McCown have another week the way he performed, but obviously, you know, whatever shots he got or what have you to get the shoulder taken care of, it worked. He looked like the Drew Brees of old, especially the way he handled the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield. He did an excellent job on one play where Tim Lito got beat on a twist move from the defensive front, and he just stepped around the guy for a sack, you know, to cause him to miss the sack, and he threw the ball downfield, about 10, 15-yard pass to Snead coming across the middle, and they look very good. You know, I don't think they may have had 1 or 2 drops this week as a receiving group, which was much better than last time, but I think offensively, you know, in the first quarter, the offensive line didn't look good. You know, I think we gave up 3 sacks the whole game, which is too many. But again, you're still playing against other guys who's getting paid. You don't like to see them at all, but things happen. I think Drew did a good job of just accepting the sack and going down and not forcing the ball downfield. A lot of people say they wanted to see him throw the ball deep, you know, over 30 yards or what have you, but and they were talking about dinking and dunking, but that's the Saints offense. You know, they probably want to throw the ball deep 2 or 3 times a game at most, normally anyway. So, but Sean's going to always take what, and Drew is always going to take what you give him. Defensively, the guys, they did a really good job. They ended up getting 3 sacks. Kakai had 1. I think it was, I can't remember who the other 2 was, but they ended up having 3 sacks on the defensive side of the ball. You saw great pressure from the front finally, you know, which is something we've been looking for. But always keep in mind, both sides of the balls, it's all about matchups, you know, regardless of what the odds maker may say, this team's supposed to beat this team. It's never, I mean, yeah, you might feel on paper, you know, you're supposed to win. Just like on paper, we had a great draft, but paper doesn't play. You know, you never know what's going to happen until you actually play the game. And it's all about matchups. How does that team match up against us? Regardless of what that team's record is, or regardless of what our record is, it's all about how the teams match up against each other that determines the game. And then you also have the two undetermineds that determines the outcome of a game. Is always going to be injuries and turnovers. So you never know how that's going to go. Special team-wise, the guys did a great job. I'm really looking forward to Murphy hopefully being able to play in some of the offensive plays, but he's been great as far as a punt returner and a kickoff returner, obviously not getting many returns on the kickoff side, but definitely as a punt returner, he's been doing an excellent job. So I think overall, what you're going to see this week coming up is hopefully the Saints going into Philadelphia and being able to steal a game. You know, they talk about the Eagles being down, but again, you're going to play against a spread option offense, which is very unseen, I guess, in the NFL. Defensive coordinators aren't used to it. And the only difference with the spread option is other than different from the Wildcat. And as you saw, everybody came out with the Wildcat at one time, putting the running back at the quarterback position, and it took defensive coordinators a couple of years to adjust to it and have an understanding. Look, he ain't gonna throw the ball. Let's start packing the box, and that's how they ended up stopping it. The difference between the Wildcat and the spread option is you actually have a quarterback who can run and who can throw the ball. So that makes him a triple threat, right, in that scenario. But the thing about it is, in the NFL, you can't afford for that quarterback to get hurt. And that's why you don't see the option, because I tell everybody, if you ran a John Curtis or Georgia Tech option with a quarterback, you would kill it, you would dominate the NFL because they don't know how to play against it. The problem is you can't afford to get your quarterback hurt. So that's why quarterbacks are pocket passers. You look at the Randall Cunninghams back in the day. You look at Michael Vick. You look at Brett Favre. Well, Brett kept running regardless. He played hurt. So, but you look at Aaron Rodgers. You know, some of these great quarterbacks who started out as running quarterbacks, but the minute they got that big check, all of a sudden now they became pocket passers. Can't afford to get them hurt. RG3, classic example. Great kid. Think he got a bad turn in a sense because he did get hurt. Now he's not the same anymore, but that's the chance you take, bringing these kids in and having them run, and you done paid them all of this money. So I think the one good thing the Saints defense has going into this game is the fact that they have a lot of young players who's played against the spread option offense. So hopefully Rob Ryan will take some of those guys' inputs at the linebacker position or even the defensive line position on how to stop the spread option. And, you know, hopefully I think we can go in this week and get a steal out of it. Any questions? Yeah.
Hey, Michael Lewis was here last week, so I want to congratulate both of y'all for getting in the Saints Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
So, so out of the two of y'all, who's the better kicker?
Well, actually, I have the most kickoff return. I have the NFL record for the most kickoff return yards in a game. Michael beat my record, which is the most kickoff returns in a season. So we're about what and what. Thank you. Any other questions? Again, the Saints, I think they're going to do a pretty good job. Not sure what their record's going to be at the end of the season. We just like to say, hopefully they'll come out, continue to play, continue to work hard. Again, you have a lot of young kids. Oh, and I would like to say congratulations also because of his situation with Dalvin Bro and how he's come along. I know he gets a lot of flags, but you got to understand he has that mentality from playing in the Canadian League and playing in the Arena League, which is what you look for from a press corner. Only thing now I think Rob Ryan needs to do is once he gets Keenan Lewis back, bring Browner on the inside because now he won't have to worry about getting beat deep over the top. And then you have Jairus Byrd back there along with Kenny Vaccaro, who's a good cover safety. I think you'll see one of the better better secondaries in the NFL. Rob Ryan, now he can let go, I think, and start bringing that pressure because you have two great press corners on the outside, and then you got two safeties over the top and a good guy on the inside who can cover as well. So I think now, hopefully, once these guys are all healthy and being able to play, and most important, being able to communicate with each other, Rob Ryan starts bringing those blitz packages, you'll see a better defense. Yes.
NOLA.com just came out with an article about an hour ago saying that Brandon Brown is one of the biggest disappointment cornerbacks in the league. Is there anything about him that we don't know that's promising, or is it just he's not getting it right now? Or?
Well, I mean, one, he's older. You know, he has gotten beat deep, but again, he's a press corner where he's used to playing with blitzes and not so much zone where the guys have time to throw the ball. And that's one of the things where when you evaluating a player, you know, I mean, yeah, he's a good player on another team, but what made him a good player on that team? What system was he in? And are we running that same type of system? Because you can bring guys in who were great, but they may not fit your system, or your system may not fit them. You know, we used to always say, you know, when Joe Montana left the 49ers and went to Kansas City, you know, they were kind of having problems, and Joe started kind of going off. And it's like, well, look, I didn't come here to run Kansas City offense. I came here to run Joe Montana offense. Because, I mean, that's what worked. You know, obviously yours wasn't working. That's why you brought me in. So you have to look at, when you're doing evaluations, you have to look at what made them good and what type of system were they in, and are we doing the same thing? Any other questions? Thank you guys a lot. I appreciate it.